Hello everyone, welcome to the Ichimoku.co daily stock market review for the trading day ending Thursday, November 13th. Firstly, looking at the performance of the various indices, and here we see the Russell 2000, a very strong underperformer, down 0.93%, significant loss here in the Russell 2000 today. The Dow 30 was up 0.23%, the S&P 500 was only up just by 0.05%, whilst the Nasdaq 100 was the leader, being up 0.43%. Firstly, looking at the Ichimoku chart of the S&P 500 on the daily charts, and here we see a very small bodied candle, a doji type candle in fact, and it represents a candle of indecision. A day when the buyers have lost control. Previous day's trading we saw a change of trend to the downside, but on a day where the buyers took control of the market, there was an opportunity for the buyers to change the trend to the upside. They failed to do so, with the market taking out the previous low but also taking out the previous high. So quite some indecision in terms of this being an outside day, but also in terms of the market opening and closing around the same level, around the midpoint level, suggesting that neither side have taken control of the market. And importantly, we've seen the sellers lose commitment from higher levels, but the buyers lose commitment. The sellers lose commitment from lower levels and the buyers lose commitment from higher levels. At the end of a very strong and significant first and second time round uptrend, this does suggest that there is a very real possibility of the market testing to lower levels if the sellers are strong enough. It does suggest that the strength of the buyers is no longer in the market. So that's the perspective that we look at it in terms of this bigger picture here, and it does raise doubt about continuation of the trend to the upside, more so than initiation of a new trend to the downside. But looking at these last two candles, we have these large shadows on the bottom, and there certainly is some decent support coming in down around the 2029 area, so we should be watching very closely there. We do have solid support just below here at the area around the Tenkan Sen indicator, which now coincides with the previous swing high, roughly about the 2023 level, and down at 2019 we should expect to see some solid support come in. So a scenario here may be that we see the sellers come in, we find support around one of these areas, and then the buyers come back into the market. That would be in line with the market being bullish in all three timeframes, supported by the Chica span. Moving next to our bands, and here for the second consecutive trading day, we see the buyers coming into the market as the market tested to or just within the bands, and that area holding as some important support. The market's still closing outside of the upper band, suggesting we still have a strong bullish bias, and a hint here that we could see the next move to be to the upside if the buyers are strong enough. So that indecision there is, in terms of the market holding support at the upper band, is suggesting the next move may be up. But certainly watching very closely around the upper band at 2036 to continue to hold a support. If we do see a bearish close within the bands, we could quickly see the market testing to lower levels, with the support at the middle band around 1989. Next to the Dow 30, and here we see a different type of candle. It's not a doji candle as we saw for the S&P 500. It's more of a spinning top type candle. Still a candle of indecision, and a candle where neither side has really taken control of the market. It's slightly favouring the buyers to a degree, closing just slightly above the midpoint level, but so close to it that it really does suggest quite some indecision. But we do have a white body that's formed, and that suggests that there has been some upside momentum in net terms between the open and the close, so that's favoured the buyers, so suggesting that we could see the next move to the upside. But overall, with there still being a small white body with a shadow on the top and a shadow on the bottom, it does suggest that there still is quite some indecision in this market, and there is potential for a change of trend. Now, if we do see the trend change, the minor swing low here, 17,533, may hold a support, and then the area at the Tenkan Sen at 17,491, I suggest will hold as very, very strong support if we do see the market trade down to that level. But we do have a bullish market in all three timeframes, supported by the Chica span. Likely scenario here is that if we do have a change of trend, we test down to either that swing low or down to the Tenkan Sen, and then we see the buyers come back into the market strongly. In terms of the bands, continued trading activity outside of the upper band. It suggests the strong bullish bias still. Looking to the upper band at 17,572 to hold a support, as it has done for the past two consecutive days. Bearish close within the bands would herald a potential serious change of sentiment in the market. Next to the Nasdaq 100, and here we see continuation of the trend to the upside, the market trading up above each of the Ichimoku indicators, confirming the strong bullish bias in all three timeframes, continuing with a higher high and a higher low following the breakout from the congestion area that formed, but forming on an indecisive spinning top type candle, similar candle that we saw with the Dow 30, potential for a change of trend, but the buyers still have maintained upside momentum, but less than the previous day, and that by itself does suggest that there is potential for a change of trend, suggesting that we should be watching the Tenkan-sen trading around the highs of the congestion area, roughly about 4177, to act as very, very strong support. Below there we have a window that was opened up, which it provides a very, very solid floor below some other important areas of support. And to the bands here, we see the market finding support at the upper band, once again bouncing off there, failing to close within the band. And through all of this trading, the market has found support either within or just at the band on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive occasions, and each time closing above the upper band, suggesting that at the moment the buyers certainly are still the stronger party. Interesting to see how the next candle develops following the indecision. As I mentioned with the other markets, if we see a bearish close within the bands, it may be the beginning of a significant change in bias in these markets. And next to the Russell 2000, very, very different market here than we've seen with the others. Whereas we had indecisive candles, either a doji or a spinning top type candle with the previous markets, for the day prior to today with the Russell 2000, we saw a bullish breakout above important resistance and a very strong candle. Today we've seen that evaporate. The sellers coming in just as strongly, or probably even stronger than the previous day, closing down at the lows, suggesting the sellers have taken control. But importantly, the Tenkan-sen trading around the 1175 region, holding as support for the last two candles. Bullish market just in all three timeframes, certainly significantly in the longer term and medium term timeframes, supported by the Chica span, but very, very important trading coming up for the next day. If we see a bearish close below the Tenkan-sen, we could see the market trade to lower levels, but I suggest that 1167 and the region below there, where we had a window that was opened up, should provide very, very substantial support for the Russell 2000. And here we have a very different scenario with the bands here with the Russell 2000 compared to the other markets that we've been looking at. We previously had the market trading above the upper band, strong bullish buyers bouncing off that band, buyers coming in, and then today the upper band failing to hold a support. This may be the beginning of the end of that strong bullish bias. The bearish close in there suggests that that bias has completed, that strong bias. We still have a bullish bias by trading above the middle of the bands, but what we're going to be looking for here now is some follow through to the downside, confirming the change of sentiment. And if the market can do that, then we could eventually, and if the sellers are strong enough, see the market test down to the middle of the bands, trading around the 1146 region. Next, taking a look at a few stocks here, and the first that I'm going to look at is Ford. The code is F, and looking at the bands here, first on the top right hand corner on the daily charts, we had the squeeze going on and then the breakout to the upside and the strong follow through, suggesting that there is a good opportunity for the buyers to continue this trend to the upside. The problem here, if we look at the left hand side, top left hand corner, is that eventually those buyers are going to run into the Ichimoku cloud. So even though we have a bullish market in the short term time frames, we may see some resistance come in around the clouds. Now if the market does come off, potential support at the upper band at 1441, and with the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen around that area, 1451 down to 1422. So some solid support below, but certainly strong resistance overhead. Moving next to Amazon, AMZN is the code, and here we see a similar type of scenario on the top right hand corner. The breakout up above the bands, the bullish follow through, the upper band now holding a support, suggesting that we have had a transition from the bearish phase into the bullish phase. The problem here, however, is based on Ichimoku, overhead resistance at the cloud at 324. So very close by to where the market's trading at the moment, so all looking healthy on the bands, but the longer term time frame is certainly suggesting that we may have some time to go with Amazon. Moving next to Apple, AAPL is the code, and a very, very strong market here. Very solid in all timeframes and on all charts. Firstly, looking at the Ichimoku chart daily, very strong uptrending price action above each of the Ichimoku indicators, strong relative outperformance. A little cause for concern here is that we may have seen a cyclical high in volatility, so we may see some retracement or even some congestion occur. It is suggesting that the trend in the intermediate time frame may have done enough work, and we could see a relaxation in that uptrend. If the market does come off, however, looking to strong support at the Tenkan-sen at 110.58. And on the bands, solid support at the upper band at 110.38. Weekly charts are very solid as well. Ichimoku been trending up for quite some time, strong outperformance, and importantly here, volatility ticking up off a cyclical low, suggesting that we could be in for further upside on the weekly charts, but perhaps after the markets take a bit of a rest or something of a retracement. But looking at this current candle on the weekly chart here, it is very solid white body candle. Sellers strongly in control at the moment. Moving next to Yahoo, YHOO, very solid performer here on the Ichimoku chart. Good trending up against, up above each of the Ichimoku indicators, trading well above the Tenkan-sen here, highlighting very strong upside momentum in this market. A small black body candle forming here for today's trading, suggesting we could see a change of trend following a very strong bullish candle from the previous day. Potential support at the upper band of the chart on the right hand side, top right hand side at 49, and based on the Tenkan-sen at 48.46. Looking at the outperformance, very strongly outperforming the S&P. Potential for a cyclical high to form here, and that would occur if we perhaps see the market come off and change trend. Very important support here at the Tenkan-sen. However, if we see a bearish close below there, we could see the market test down to around the middle of the bands. Firstly, over here around the 49, roughly about the $45 level, 45.73. And looking at the weekly charts here, very solid outperformance over the last month or so against the S&P. Volatility still ticking up, suggesting further upside on the weekly charts. If the market does come off, support at the Tenkan-sen 43.68 in the bands, strongly trending up, looking a little overextended however, so something of a pullback or a congestion wouldn't surprise.